Okay, it's getting near the evening on Thursday before I go and crash before the Tech Guys Midnight Court, and I'm here with Michael, who's all the way from Scotland. Michael, I presume this is your first CPAC?
It's my first time in DC.
Ah, and I understand that you are here at CPAC kind of by accident because you were here at the hotel.
That's right.
And you decided to take a look.
Well, it's hard to avoid.
Now, I don't know what your politics are, but what is your impression of the people here that you've seen? What are the impressions of the things that you've seen around here?
Well, I'm actually a bit concerned that, not being a citizen here, not being exposed to it all the time, what we see, back east, as you say, is pretty, shocking. It's like, I saw part of his speech earlier today, and it was like he was a carnival barker. He didn't know what he was selling. It was kind of, difficult to believe that, that's the leader of the free world.
That's a very different take than most of the people who will be here.
I figure.
But that's all right. That's the point of interviewing. So you're in DC. Are you in DC for business, for pleasure?
Sort of both. I'm a video editor back home, and a friend of mine is a documentary filmmaker who's been working around here quite a lot. Part archivist, part documentary films. He's been working, oddly enough, on a show, a documentary for the Central China Television. CCTV have engaged him to research armaments from not the beginning of their invention of the rifle and gunpowder, but pretty much starting from the few years before the Japanese invaded Nanjing in 1937. So he's been helping them out a lot with that. And he and I have been close friends for a while, but he's never, invited me over to.
So will you be doing film editing yourself on that, or
he might need some help there. He might just need a few, certainly some logging of the footage, and trying to identify, add metadata to it, so that this is the footage of this particular Chinese ship at this particular harbor on this particular day. It's that level of complexity.
Now I'm going to get back to the politics in a second, but there's something about film editing. It has been said, and it's my opinion, that the success of a movie is made in the editing. A good movie can be made great in editing, a bad movie can be made acceptable, and a good movie can be destroyed by bad editing. How vital is good editing?
It's essential. It's not just, cutting it to the bone like some people would say. You have to have a sense for the rhythm of a scene. You have to make sure that if a character, especially in a narrative program, not necessarily in documentaries, but it's, who is it? David Lean said that.
From Slade.
David Lean?
Oh, I thought you meant the Slade band.
No, director of Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, and all of that. He said that good editing will make a film look like it was well directed. Great editing will make it look like it wasn't directed at all. That's just a great phrase.
Now, obviously in the political world, that must be important too. Have you ever done editing for political ads or something like that? No. If there was a piece of advice you would give a person making political ads in terms of how important is getting that good editing? In terms of political ad? In a political ad, if you're going to make a short, because it's even 30 or 60 seconds, would editing make a difference on a message like that?
Usually that's up to the producer. The producer is the one who makes the calls. An editor for something like that pretty much just pushes the buttons and makes sure, things are in focus.
All right, now I'm going to ask you the same 7 questions I've asked everybody here at CPAC.
All right.
Okay. Oh, actually, I should ask you one thing before. Now, you obviously saw the president's speech. What other things have you seen? And what other people have you interacted with?
You're pretty much the first person who's actually struck up a conversation with me.
Oh.
I've asked for pictures, and, there's a few gentlemen around here that I kind of recognize, but, for the most part,
So you've just been watching?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
like an editor does. You got to pay attention to what's going on around you. This is a completely different experience from anything I've ever had anywhere.
Well, my own origin isn't in reporting. My own origin is in as a computer technician, which is why I'm called the tech guy.
Your card, yeah.
But I've been reporting now for 9 years, and it's very interesting. But again, the questions I was going to ask. Okay, Trump year one. Now, of course, you're taking this from a perspective as a person in Scotland, not as a person in America. Would you give him thumbs up, thumbs down, or Mets and Mets?
Oh, it's what we get
in your opinion,
is not very flattering. So I've got to say, you know, not good. Thumbs down.
All right. The thing that he has done that you least like, since you said thumbs down, and the thing that he's done that you've most liked over the past year.
I don't know.
Well, again, you're from Scotland, so you're not dealing with American politics.
No, I'm not.
So on a level in terms of the relationship to Scotland or the world, anything come to mind?
Not really. It's the bald spot reveal was the last thing we really saw on him on the telly over there.
Which was the thing today when he played on that, because he's never referred to that in the past, actually.
When he was going up the stairs to that on the Air Force One, is it? A big gust of wind flapped his bald pate right open, and it's like, that's what made it into the papers.
Now that's one of the things that I think small bloggers like us, we will tend to report more on the meat and potatoes of what's going on, and of course the media you got to get eyeballs, you got to get people to view, and if something gets the views, that gets the views.
I'll have to look at your blog.
I would appreciate
right
it.
Here.
Now, my other questions might be superfluous because they're about American politics.
I'll give it
now, you've heard, as you may know, that we're having our midterm elections.
Right.
In the Senate, there's a one-seat majority for the Republicans, but the map is very favorable. 25 Democrats are running for re-election, 10 of them in states that the president won, only 8 Republicans. So
I've heard about this.
Yeah, so it's a big advantage in the Senate. In the House, the Republicans have to hold 25 seats in order to keep power. From what you've heard, and this will be an interesting perspective, because you were hearing international media, or Scottish media rather than what we're hearing. From what you've heard, what would you say are the odds of the president's party keeping either the House or the Senate, just from what you've heard?
Well, the thing that really made it bubble to the surface, even in Inverness, was Alabama.
The Roy Moore race.
Yeah, the Doug Jones and Roy Moore. The whole, we've had sort of few PMs over in Scotland have been kind of accused of that similar kind of shady behaviour, shall we say, and that it was unlikely that even with all of that he would win, but he didn't. And if that's kind of a bellwether for the rest of the election, I'd say probably should make some adjustments, be ready to adapt some new legislating.
Now, what do you think this president, now obviously you're not a big fan of this president, but what do you think he could do to help the Republicans win?
Start speaking in complete sentences. Not just, I pay attention to this. He does what they call either a gish gallop or just let you fill in the blanks. It's like he's fighting against a non-existent adversary. He sets it up for you, and then he says, we're going to do something about that, believe me. That's a shell game. That's not real communication, that's manipulation. That's just stacking the deck. That's just, if he leaves it up to you to connect the dots, that information, since it came up in your head, is a lot more powerful than if somebody else says it to you.
So you're describing it like a mentalist who's making you reveal the game.
It's I don't know if you know Rodrigo's work.
Okay, I've only got 2 minutes left on the battery, so I want to make sure I get the last question in.
Watch the last 10 minutes of Quyanna Scotsy.
Quyanna Scotsy.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up online. Last question. You've heard, of course, a lot of talk about the wall, and we've heard about DACA, the children of illegal aliens who were brought here. And there's been talk about a deal, the wall for DACA. Do you think such a deal should be made? Where the Democrats get the DACA kids and the Republicans get the wall, is that a fair deal? Do you think?
I suppose. I suppose. I don't see why not.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a very interesting conversation. A pleasure to meet you.
You too as well.
Thank you.
Carry on.